Smartphones in our hands are getting more and more powerful, but the classics in our memories are gradually fading. Recently, a name that once shone brightly suddenly popped into my mind: Motorola. For a long time before the birth of the iPhone, Motorola, along with Nokia and Samsung, was known as one of the three giants of the mobile phone world, and was undoubtedly a technological leader in the industry. Now, when Motorola is mentioned, many people's first reaction might be, oh, is that brand still around? Indeed, from its peak to its decline, from being a communications giant to a marginalized player, Motorola has gone through countless ups and downs. Its story is full of both legend and regret. So, what exactly has Motorola experienced over the past year? Do they still have a chance to make a comeback? Next, let's uncover this chapter of Motorola's history together. Before we dive into Motorola's recent history, let's quickly revisit the brand's glorious past. Founded in Year, Motorola originally had a much longer name and mainly produced car radios. In Year, they created the brand name Motorola, which means music in motion. In the field of communications, Motorola has achieved countless firsts. In Year, the Apollo 11 spacecraft was equipped with Motorola's wireless transponder, which was used to transmit voice and television communications between Earth and the Moon. In Year, the world's first commercial mobile phone, the Dynatak 8000X, was introduced. In Year, this phone was officially commercialized, ushering in the golden age of mobile communications. By the 1990s, Motorola launched the iconic StarTAC flip phone, which was the world's lightest and smallest phone at the time, becoming a symbol of fashion. In Year, the Motorola 5.3 made a sensational debut and took the world by storm, with global sales reaching 100 million units, successfully ranking third in worldwide sales. At its peak, Motorola held a 22% share of the global mobile phone market, firmly securing the second position. However, the glory did not last long. Starting in Year, Motorola's fortunes began to decline rapidly. The first issue was organizational structure. At that time, Motorola was divided into four major business units: mobile devices, network equipment, enterprise solutions, and automotive electronics. This diversification of business led to scattered resources and low decision-making efficiency. Meanwhile, competitors like Nokia and Samsung were fully investing in their mobile phone businesses, gradually widening the gap. Even more fatal was Motorola's indecision when it came to transitioning to smartphones. In Year, the first generation iPhone released by Steve Jobs completely changed the mobile phone industry, but Motorola was still basking in the success of feature phones and failed to adjust its strategy in time. Although they tried to launch smartphones based on Windows Mobile and Symbian, the lack of systematic thinking and user experience design meant they failed to achieve the desired results in the market. The global financial crisis in Year made things even worse for Motorola. By Year, Motorola's mobile phone business had suffered consecutive losses, and its market share had dropped to just 4.8%. In order to save itself, Motorola decided to split its business, and by Year, the company was officially divided into two: Motorola Mobility and Motorola Solutions. Motorola Mobility is now owned by Lenovo and focuses on mobile phones and cable television equipment. Motorola Solutions retained the stock price history of Motorola prior to Year, so it is generally regarded as the direct successor to the original Motorola company. In August 2011, 7 months after Motorola Mobility was spun off as an independent company, Google announced it would acquire Motorola Mobility for $12.5 billion, a price that represented a 63% premium over Motorola's market value at the time. This left many people baffled. Why did Google want to acquire Motorola? On the surface, Google claimed it was interested in Motorola's more than 17,000 patents to protect the Android ecosystem, but the real reasons might have been more complex. On one hand, Google wanted to use the hardware business to compete head-to-head with Apple. On the other hand, as a domestic US manufacturer, Motorola had unique advantages in dealing with the government and in coordination. With Google's backing, Motorola began a series of innovative experiments. The Moto X, launched in August 2013, was a milestone product. It introduced the OK Google voice activation feature, emphasized personalized customization, and used a near-stock version of the Android system. Released around the same time, the Moto G pioneered a new category of high-cost performance smartphones, proving that quality phones didn't have to come with a high price tag. However, the honeymoon period between Google and Motorola didn't last long. Google found that the low profit margins and long product cycles of the hardware business conflicted with its own internet company culture. In addition, Android manufacturers like Samsung and HTC were wary of Google directly entering the hardware market, prompting Google to reconsider the acquisition. In January 2014, Google announced it would sell Motorola Mobility to Lenovo for $2.9 billion, retaining only most of the patents. In just over 2 years, Motorola's value had shrunk by more than 70%, which was quite lamentable. Lenovo's strategy in acquiring Motorola was very clear. First, to leverage the Motorola brand's influence in North America to break into the US market. Second, to use Motorola's technology and patents to enhance the competitiveness of its own mobile phone business. Third, to integrate the supply chains of both companies to reduce costs. In the early stages, Lenovo basically continued the product lines from the Google era, maintaining updates for the Moto X and Moto G series, and even launched the innovative modular phone, the Moto Z. However, as time went on, Lenovo began to carry out a deeper integration of Motorola. In 2016, Lenovo announced that it would abandon its own mobile phone brand and fully adopt a dual-brand strategy with Moto and Lenovo Zook. However, the results were not ideal, and the Zook brand was gradually phased out. It is clear that the integration process between Lenovo and Motorola was not smooth. From 2016 to 2018, Motorola went through several rounds of layoffs, with its original US team of 60 people significantly reduced. The product strategy became chaotic, with numerous models but no clear positioning and insufficient marketing investment, which led to a continuous decline in market share. By 2018, Motorola's share of the global smartphone market was less than 2%. In the face of these difficulties, Lenovo began to implement strategic adjustments for Motorola starting in 2020. First, they clarified regional priorities, focusing all efforts on the North American and Latin American markets, where Motorola still had relatively strong brand recognition and channel advantages in some areas. Second, they streamlined the product line, concentrating on the mid to high-end H series and the mid to low-end G series, reducing model overlap. Motorola is also making efforts in the foldable phone sector. In 2019, they relaunched the Razr series, a clamshell-style foldable phone that evoked consumers' nostalgia for the classic V3. Although the first generation of the Razr foldable phone had issues, after several iterations and optimizations, the Razr 40 Ultra, released in 2023, has become mature and is highly competitive in the North American foldable phone market. In an era where hardware is becoming increasingly homogenized, Motorola has developed a unique approach to system features. Its multi-app cloning not only supports mainstream apps like WeChat and QQ, but is also compatible with most third-party apps. You can even run up to 6 clones, and with a bit of tweaking, that number can reach 12 or even more. It's already 2025, and Apple still struggles with dual app instances, while Xiaomi, even counting its secondary system, can only manage 3. If Huawei hasn't updated its system, its dual app feature still only supports a handful of apps. More importantly, each app clone on Motorola has a completely independent data storage space and permission management. For business professionals or social butterflies, this is nothing short of ingenious. Even time management masters at the level of professional online sellers find it incredibly practical. These efforts are gradually starting to pay off. Recently, IDC's latest data report shows Lenovo Motorola continues strong growth resilience in the global smartphone market. In overseas markets, Lenovo Motorola not only holds the 5th spot in shipment volume, but also ranks among the top 4 in revenue. The Moto Razr 60 series, just released this month, evoked nostalgia among many fans. It perfectly aligns with the current trend where everything can be folded. No matter how you fold it, it looks stylish and has achieved impressive market results. Looking ahead, Motorola still faces tough challenges. In the global market, they need to contend with fierce competition from Chinese brands. In the high-end market, the positions of Apple and Samsung are difficult to shake. When it comes to technological innovation, limited resources have led to insufficient investment in research and development, but there are also opportunities. First, as one of the few Android brands that remain competitive in the North American market, Motorola can take advantage of opportunities brought by geopolitical factors. Second, in emerging device categories like foldable screens, Motorola's early investments may provide a differentiated advantage. Furthermore, Lenovo's global enterprise market channels can help Motorola expand its B2B business. In addition, Motorola's long history and former glory are also valuable brand assets. For many consumers, the classic Hello Moto ringtone still evokes an emotional resonance. How to inject new vitality while respecting tradition will be an enduring challenge for Motorola's brand management. Looking back at Motorola over the years, we can see a classic rise and fall story of a tech giant. From industry leader to being marginalized, from being acquired to being sold, from losing its way to repositioning itself, in the ever-changing tech industry, there are no eternal kings, nor are there destined losers. Innovation, decision-making speed, and market sensitivity are often more important than scale and resources. For Motorola, the road ahead may not be smooth. By staying true to its original intentions and focusing on creating value for users, it will find its place in the fierce market competition. As Motorola's founder Paul Galvin once said, "Don't follow in others' footsteps. Go seek out paths that have yet to be explored." Perhaps this is precisely the spirit that Motorola needs to return to.